How's it going, Haiti Sentinel? I have some tea for you guys this afternoon. Oh, yeah. So, you guys would not believe the sources the Haiti Sentinel has. We've been getting tea left and right these past few days. And it proves to me that the situation in Haiti is very complicated. Very, very complicated. But as I put all the information together, I'm beginning to kind of see what's going on. I'm beginning to kind of see what the moves are, the moves and plays that people are making. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. But I think I understand everyone's motive at this point. And that's what I want to tell you guys today. So, where should I even begin, man? Where should I even begin? There's about 5 different parties involved. You know, you have the private sector, you have the Tet Kale, but then you have Jovenel, who is, of course, came from the party Tet Kale, but he's coming towards more the Bouclier section of Tet Kale. Then you have the private sector, who's playing their role, and then you have the international community. And I wonder if I also mentioned the opposition. You know, so there's a lot of moving parts here. But the first thing, I want to be able to answer for you guys for this video is for people that, you hear it all the time. You hear it all the time these days. Oh, Jovenel won't say anything for what's going on in the country. He won't speak out. He won't say anything. He won't speak for the people. He's staying silent. People think he's scared. He might be a little scared though. I'm not gonna discount the possibility that he's scared. But I know the number one reason is not because he's scared. I will say that. It's not because he's scared. It's because he doesn't think it matters. He doesn't think the movements in the streets matter. And that's something he learned from Martelly. But this could be a bad calculation because the charisma that President Martelly has is not the same as Jovenel's. Everybody knows for the past decade I've been attacking Martelly left and right like it's with no I've stayed on this brother's neck. But I did have on 3 occasions, 2 over the phone, 1 in person, to be able to meet and talk with Martelly. And I'll tell you, his charisma is real. He made me feel like family, like I was jelly. Very warm personality. Oh, man. He is somebody you want to have a beer with, you want to hang out with. Like, there's some people that you just like, ugh. Even if I'm doing something fun, I couldn't hang with them. Or even if I'm doing something, definitely if I'm doing something boring, I couldn't hang with him. He's somebody that you could do something. You could go to study hall. If you have detention after school or something like that, if Martelly's there, you're going to love it. Because you'll want to go to detention if Martelly's in there. That's how he is. He just brings that. I don't know. It's a je ne sais quoi. So Jovenel doesn't have that. And Martelly has that, a very, very indispensable tool. So he's staying quiet, but this is let me answer like I want to answer. Why is he staying so quiet in the face of everything? It's because he knows Martelly can stop all the movement that's going on in the street right now. If Martelly makes the phone call, the movements could stop. Number one, President Martelly, and I wrote it in this article that you see right here, I wrote it. Martelly has interests, stakes in some of the fuel companies in Haiti. The scarcity is real. The government tries to say it's manufactured, but the scarcity is real. But it's with the moves the government has been making, it's become more manageable than what it appears to be right now. It has become a lot more manageable. But it's not being allowed to be manageable, and that's because President Martelly won't allow it to. And a story broke out last night, this right here, and I wrote about it. Fuel distributors are throttling the gasoline supplies, and they're doing it purposefully. There's 140,000 barrels in the port, and they're saying, oh, we're waiting till we run out of gas at our stations before we come and pick these up. You guys have been ran out of gas. Part of the reason why the movement is there's so much movement in the street. So they're controlling the supply in order to keep the movement in the street. And as I explained in this article right here, it's because Martelly doesn't want Fritz William to be prime minister. Martelly needs somebody who's going to put his guys back in power. Jovenel has been taking money out of Martelly's pockets and likely putting it in his pockets because there's corruption on his side as well. But also, there's not that $600 million from Petrocaribe anymore. Jovenel took us out of there to try to please Donald Trump. So every single dime is needed. Martelly can't keep taking the kind of money he was taking while he was in office and since he's been in office. Just a little bit of tea. That's why, just a little bit of tea here, but that's why the former Prime Minister Lamont might be saying, to follow the money. Because you might find that it's not to the Prime Minister it was going to, but to President Martelly, his family, and his allies. So Jovenel's not moved by the protests in the streets because he knows Martelly could shut it down. And how can Martelly shut it down? Martelly could, let's say if what's his name, Fritz William Michel were to drop out, and Jovenel was to nominate, somebody like Joseph Lambert for prime minister. All of a sudden, you see the police be more aggressive towards stopping the protests, the demonstrations. All of a sudden, you see the police using a lot of gas to stop the demonstrations, because right now you'd probably think, dang, is there even police in the country? It's the same thing that happened in 2011. That's why I published this. When the police, even the UN was missing when they were all out here dumping over dumpsters and stuff. And it's the same type of movement this time. They're dumping over trash. They're dumping over trash. And if you read this article, you'll see why, Martelly has some interest, his family does, in trash cleanup. He has some companies that do that for the government. But, you can read the article and find out. So the police would come in. Not only that, Martelly has the gangs. Oh, I got to find it. You can see there's a article I got from, one of the human rights people says there's a former president that's still giving Arnell Joseph money to this day and was giving them before. Martelly has the gang. So if Jovenel does what Martelly wants, then the police will come out aggressive against the protests. The gangs will come out like you haven't heard anything about gangs. Notice you haven't heard anything about gangs. You've heard about maybe a few police officers shooting citizens, which that's terrible, but it happens in Haiti for quite a while. But you don't hear about the gang violence as much anymore these past few weeks because Martelly wants the movements in the streets to force Jovenel's hand. So you won't see the gangs and then the snipers, the mercenaries. Like just look at the record. In February they had a protest, man. At the end of the protest, there were like 10 bodies just dead in the street. People say there were snipers somewhere shooting people. They never saw who the people were. So with that type of force, Martelly could stop the protests against Jovenel. With that type of force. But obviously Martelly is trying to force Jovenel to give him back his people, give him back his power, make sure he gets his money out of the government. That's what's happening with that. So that's why you see Jovenel is cool and doesn't feel like he needs to say anything about it. Jovenel is daring Martelly to continue with this because what Jovenel feels, if you take me out of power, and this is what I'm feeling like Jovenel's going to talk. Because that Petrocaribe case is going to come after him quick. The heat is going to be on for all the stuff that happened with Petrocaribe, particularly before he came into power and while Martelly was president. And Jovenel's trying to call Martelly's bluff. Because he's like, you need me here to make sure this investigation doesn't happen. Because if this investigation's happened, they're going to know that it was behind you. It was you. It was you that was setting me up with all these deals to my shell companies and having me pocket this money, and I was kicking it back to you. So he's trying to call Martelly's bluff in that way. And that's the game we have going on right now. For the opposition, they're in very difficult situation because while their movement appears to be going strong now, if Jovenel capitulates, then they're going to have to deal with street gangs, police, and mercenary bluff from like, SEAL Team 6 or something like that. What they need to do, their only avenue for success is to unite and get paperwork together. Hold on, I got a phone call coming in. It's to unite and get this and get their paperwork together. Like they've been coalescing, they've been getting agreements, they're getting bigger and bigger, but there's still a major faction in the South that has come together. Let me get this call real quick. All right, that call might come in one more time. It keeps dropping. But like I was saying, there it is. Okay, let me take this call. Hello? 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 All right, so Let me hurry up and try to wrap this up. Where was I? So that's the game that's being played, so down in the South, the opposition has really coalesced very well down there. They got a major movement of a bunch of groups together. There's also a major grouping of those from the north and in the city metropolitan area. From the Northwest to the north to Artibonite and the West Department. There's a big coming together, and the Sunk Department as well. They don't really have the Northeast, but they got a few from the Northeast. They haven't brought them in, but that's a very small group at this point. But they have the south of the country and and the northwest part of the country. Those are two factions. Somehow they have to bring those together under one agreement together. And that's the type of stuff they're going to have to put forward. And then they're going to have to put real resources together as well. They're actually going to have to put some resources, because it may come down to battling a small group that has military type power with terrorist gangs and the police. It may come down to that. But they don't have a chance if they don't unite, and they don't have a chance if they don't unite under a common agreement and path forward. That's the only thing that's going to be recognizable when things go down. You know, and Jovenel's not going to go out like that. He's not going to let Martelly get his way, because what he sees going to happen is he's going to be really ruined. Because right now, his name is cited more in Petro-Caribe than Martelly, than anyone else from that administration. He's cited more, and he's the current president. He knows he's going to be, if he capitulates and does what Martelly's done, Martelly's going to ruin him. He's going to leave office and probably, and you know, Martelly has shown a capability, especially when it comes to the former Prime Minister Lamont. He's shown that he'll throw his closest under the bus to maintain his power, maintain his influence, maintain his take care of his family. He will throw one under the bus for that. And I like to think that Jovenel has become wise to that. You know, at least that's what my sources within the National Palace would lead me to believe, that he is wise to that. So he's looking to wait things out. That's his end game. He's daring Martelly, and he's trying to. He is going to try to rule by decree. Something everybody, and that's why I keep telling people, the Duvalier script is what's been going on for the past 60 years. Whenever you hear somebody say things only been bad in the past 30 years since the fall of the dictatorship, that is the lie. Things have been bad since 1955. Everybody since 86, since the fall of the dictatorship, has only tried to copy that. And during that dictatorship, literacy was at 10%. At least we're at 61% today. And in the above 50% under Aristide. Mortality was at 50%. At least it's in the 30s, which is an improvement. So things were not gravy under the dictatorship. One, and the reason things are still bad is because of the dictatorship. People keep trying to put that game plan in. So Jovenel thinks he could get to that point, keep his grip on all the ministries and the departments, and build his own power. And he may, and this is what Martelly will have to watch out for, because when January comes and the Senate is done and the deputies are done, you may see Jovenel actually play an active role in making Petrocari move. But against Martelly, he'll try to I don't know, he'll be able to get off by trying to focus on the government officials who allowed it to happen while he was just a private citizen. He may make that move. I would not be surprised. And that's his end game. His first end game is to wait it out to get the prime minister he wants, who's going to give him the power that he wants to have in the ministries and in the agencies, departmental agencies. And the second one is if it gets to the second Monday in January when Parliament is eventually over, then he will be able to not try to satisfy those who want a Petrocaribe investigation, those who want a transition, the same way Martelly did. Martelly, he held off elections until he said, okay, now we're going to have a transition, and he still was able to fix the game for Jovenel to come in. That's the end game, folks. That's the end game, folks. There's a lot more to say about this. Definitely when I get back on later on in this week. We got to pray for this country, man. We got some people out here that are terribly concerned with their own affairs and not the country. They get into the government and, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something in the water, but they just start. Everybody wants to be Duvalier. As soon as they get into power, it's how do I keep it, how do I gain it, how do I hold on, and how do I never let go. That's what it's about. And the only way that change is if the people want it to change. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Send your support. Send your love. I love you all. And goodbye.